Right. Good morning, so brothers and sisters around the world. Joe here, and we're very thankful today. We have two masters with us and brothers and sisters around the world joining us together. Okay, so it's good to be a Saturday again, meeting everyone. It's getting a little bit cold here in Taiwan, so I hope everyone's well around the world. Today, we're very glad to have a very special guest here to share with us today. Karmen. Karmen from Malaysia has been practicing. Uh, she's a general practitioner, a doctor in the UK. She studied over there and has been there for quite a while. And a few months ago, she has also went to Mozambique to help the peoples over there. So what will be her feelings, her thoughts, this transfer, and this whole thing, and what's her sharing. So that's warmly welcome, Cameron.
A very good morning to everyone. It's actually my first ever sharing in pure English, and although I do speak a lot of English in the UK, but this feels very different in Taiwan. So first of all, many thanks to Sister Tzu Chi in Malaysia who invited me to do this sharing, and a very good morning to everyone here, and thank you for coming for emotional support. It's coming to an end for 2019, and this whole year has been, I would say, a very wonderful year because many things that I had wished for in 2018, some of my resolutions has became true, and there are things that is still rolling and keep going on, and I'm extremely grateful to be here today in a boat in Hualien for the last almost a month here. So how this all begins, why I'm here today, and why I spend my last month here will have to begin with where I came from, which is Inverness. So as Joe has introduced, I've worked in the UK in the last 7 years as a doctor, and this is where I live in the last 4 years. Inverness is graded as one of the the happiest place in the whole of Britain, and because it is like a paradise here. So I'm going to show you some photos of my life. This photo is just half an hour away from where I stay. It's very beautiful, and I always spend my time in Scotland doing things like this, kayaking, trekking, hiking. Often I have people visiting me in the UK, and I always ask them how far you want to go, what sort of level of beauty of the Scotland that you would like to see, because I can take you to half an hour beautiful places or 3 hours. And this, where you can see clear water, very nice scenery, is 3 hours from where I live. And of course you have to kayak there. Very closely, we have the very infamous Loch Ness, where you can find the Loch Ness Monster in the lake, and it's one of the largest lake in Scotland and the UK. So what I always do in my spare time when I'm not working is trekking, hiking, walkings to all these beautiful places. And often when I put all these photos up in social medias, I always get people commenting on how they envy the life that I'm living because it's very comfortable, and in fact, it is very comfortable. I work as a GP in the UK, which means I have a much more stable life. I don't do on calls at night, and I don't work in the weekends. So, second. And therefore, on my free time after work, on the weekends, that's what I do. So people say that my life is great, and I do think my life is great. However, there's always something inside me that speaks, something that keeps popping up every time when I do something nice, when I travel around, enjoying my life, having something great. There's always some an inner voice that speaks and say, what the hell are you doing? You're at the prime of your life, you're 30. There should be something more that you can do other than enjoying your life. And this is a phrase that I've heard about 10 years ago from a Tzu Chi 学长, senior Tzu Chi members, who said the same things, which motivated him to come back to a boat later on. So although I kept asking myself, but it didn't take until today to return to Taiwan, to give up things in the UK. So I started to reflect a lot on my life, and realized that actually I wasn't very satisfied in the job that I was doing in the UK. People think that being a doctor in the UK, it's great, and in fact it is great, because we have very stable lifestyle, and the British speaks a lot about work-life balance. Work is work, your life is your life. You don't do OTs. If you finish your work, you should just go home and enjoy, and you should always leave everything. So sometimes even when I overwork, people will see us Asians as aliens, like, why are you working so hard? Even though it's like your responsibility, but people see you differently. But that's good. But that means that I finish work in time and I have a good, proper work-life balance. But somehow I wasn't very satisfied with my job, mainly because being a doctor in the UK can be sometimes quite demoralizing. We see, as a GP, we see a lot of things, inside out, from head to toe. You see very minor things to very severe things. The majority of the times are some minor things that you never thought that you would ever seek medical opinion. For example, I've seen a 15-year-old who came in by herself because there was a blister on her foot. And that was because she went on a hike for 3 days and she came back with a blister. And that's absolutely normal. And I asked her, so who brought you here? She said, oh, my mom told me to come and see the doctor. It's like, okay, well, if you have a blister because of a 3 days walk, then that's pretty normal. Just don't worry, go home and stay with it. But these are the things that your mom should be dealing with at home. In my time, in my own family, my mom would not take me to a hospital for that. I also seen a 50-year-old man who had a head injury, written in the A&E notes, and it sounds very severe, but when he came in, and I asked him, where did you hit your head? And he said it was here in my forehead, just there. It's like, so I was asking, oh, sorry, where? I couldn't see any mark, and I couldn't see even any redness or any swelling. So I was just here. It's like, okay. So when I examined him, it was not painful. There was nothing. And he said it was a big hit. It's like, okay. So these are the time that I feel like, okay, I just need to do my job and comforting the patient. But then in a way, it's nice because, I get my income and I deal with non-severe things, which is great. So I don't get complaints, and I just have to tell them, oh, you have blister, put a plaster on and go home. It's a kind of easy job, and I get the same amount of pay, supposed to be good. But then that wasn't what I wished for when I decided that I wanted to be a doctor. I know I have some sort of visions of being a doctor, and that can sometimes be unrealistic. But I just thought that it should be something more. And so it's always very dissatisfying. And when I speak to my friend and say that, really, is that what I spent the last 5-6 years doing? I spent $500,000 doing this. So when you have an empty space in your heart, you always find a way to fill it in with different things. And that's my way. I did different things, my kayaking, my hobbies and things, anything outside of work. I've tried to make it really colorful, very interesting and busy, so that it can fulfill that empty space in my heart. But in order to do that, you need lots of money. And in order to have lots of money, you have to just keep working, keep doing that work that you didn't like and you didn't think it's worth for. So it's a vicious cycle that you just have to carry on doing this. And if I don't know this rule. If I didn't know that this is what's happening, and that's fine. But when I know it, I know that I probably should put a stop in this cycle and do something else. And another thing that makes me realize that I've made a right choice is when I start doing this PowerPoint and I look into all these photos that I wanted to share and say how great my life is in the UK. And I came upon this photo. It's like, wow, what such a beautiful wheel. So nice. It's where I've been to. But then I couldn't remember where this place is. Like, I don't remember when I did this. And then I realized that that's the thing. If I continue to focus on the external stuff, all the chasing, all the material things, finding food that I love to eat, at some point in my life, I would never remember what this is and how it feels like. But perhaps there's something that we do in our life that will always put an impact and you never forget. Just like my journey in Mozambique in March. The people that I've seen, the tummy that I examined, I don't think I will ever forget that in a few years' time when I see those photos. I'm sure I will still be able to tell what happened. So I'm glad that I've decided to drop this. And in last year, about a year ago this time, I made a vow to Master Cheng and say that I would like to go to Africa to work as a doctor there. And that was also one of my dreams that why I've chose to become a doctor. I've always visioned or dreamed that one day perhaps I could join the Doctors Without Borders and work in disasters area or poverty-stricken area. And if you've read the book of The Secret, you probably know that the universe will hear your words and try to fulfill your wish. And that's also what masters say, make good wishes, 发好愿, then the universe will actually help you. And then came Idai. I'm not saying that Idai came because I made this wish. It's because I made this wish, I managed to get to Idai. So Idai definitely did not happen because of me. Otherwise, I would be extremely guilty for this. Anyway, so Cyclone Idai happened. If I had not made this wish a year ago, I would not be able to participate in part of the disaster team. So very glad that I've managed to see the damage that was there. I've joined the team about a month later when Brother Joe and all the other members have been there. The photo on the left is taken from the news. The photo on the right is when I landed. And I can still see quite a lot of damages, but it didn't look that bad. And I thought, that's okay. But then in Mozambique, there was a saying that in Mozambique, you think that you've seen the poorest, but the more you walk into the villages or the further you go, then you see people getting poorer and poorer. So we would not be able to see the poorest people in Mozambique because there are so many that we cannot reach. And that's the truth. When I walk into the villages, I'm pretty sure everyone knows about Three Little Pigs story. We know that the big brother used hay to build his houses, and that's exactly what we see in Mozambique. So this is exactly the house that is like the Three Little Pig. But this is considered a good house to them, a good hut, because it's well structured. It's fully covered, and there is no holes anywhere, and you have a door in there as well. So this is considered a good house. But sadly, this big bad wolf called Idai came and blew off everything of this little hut, and that's what they live right now. And this is considered good because you still have structures and you can still patch it up with some plastic that you can find or whatever things you can find within your area. And then this one on the right upper corner where it's open and you can just see where the bed is in there. And on the right lower corner, this is also considered quite a good one, but because it's made with mud, so if rain comes heavily, then it will melt the house. It will all go into veins. Houses like this looks nice because it's fully covered, but imagine how small it is. It's even smaller than this room right here. And particularly choose this photo is because, as people who have seen me before know, that I'm not very tall. So if my height, I still have to bend forward and go into this house. You can imagine this is a really small house. And when I stand upright, it's just about my height, which is not very tall. So that is what they're living in. And it surprises me because I've been to India about 10 years ago for a student exchange program, and I thought probably seen the poorest people in the world and what poverty is. But going to Mozambique made me realize that, this degree of poverty is beyond my imagination. People are living in such a conditions that without seeing them, without going there, you would never imagine that's how they live. So life was very tough for them, and it just got worse. And this photo mainly wanting to show you the one in the middle. It's actually a toilet. So that's what they do. They put 4 wooden stakes and then wrap it up with plastics and do whatever they need to do. And once they're done, then they would just dig another hole. And that's the life in Africa. This is a photo of this is the day-to-day routine. If there's a stream close by to where they live, they do everything there. They play, they wash themselves, or they wash their clothes, and they might even take the water back home. And it's not surprising, some of this water is what they consume. So life is very difficult in there. And one of the things is they have to travel by foot. They have to walk from one places to another. And it's very disheartening when after we distribute all these goods to them, and because we don't stay at one point, and when the local volunteers start the distributions, we will move over to other areas. And then when we were traveling on our car, and when we returned back to the relief venue, then we realized there was long trails of people walking, and they carry this 20 kilogram stuff all the way home, and it could take up to an hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours. And some of them do not have shoes. It's something that you cannot imagine, because this is really hot. And I have carried stuff before, and that's like 10 kilogram of goods when I was in the UK, and carry my grocery home. And I had to take break. It was very, very tiring. And then after that, I still get a massage. So that, but to them, they have to carry it in their neck. So it's actually a very common thing that my friend who works in Africa says that actually they look like they are good with the neck muscles, but in fact, they come in with a lot of muscular problems in their back and in their neck. And that's common because they are carrying 10 kilograms of stuff every day. So it's not surprising that's what they have to suffer from. But what amazed me is every time when I was there, I've never felt any negativity or sadness. I mean, I feel sad seeing them, but it's not because they make me feel like they've made me feel sad. When I was in the UK, the GP practice the health center that I work in, it's a very deprived area where people are using drugs, using alcohols, a lot of depression and anxiety problems. And a full day of clinics, it made me feel, because all I see is anxiety, depression, and then drugs. So at the end of the day, I feel like maybe I shouldn't feel happy. Maybe happy is something that I don't deserve, because everyone around me is not happy. And there are a lot of things that I couldn't help them with. Whereas when I'm in Mozambique, you can see this video. So that's what we do before we start our distributions. We sing and we dance together, and they join us. So even though they are the victims, but they still dance with us and join in our prayer sessions, which really touch my heart. And even, I mean, I feel sad for them, but they never pass on any negativity. The same goes to when I visit the village, which I thought that's something probably we, the civilized people, we from the advanced country should learn from. The resilience, the independence is something that we probably would not be able to do if we face the same situation like them. So one of my roles when I was there is to carry out medical missions. And I was more tasked to do a bit of survey in the areas and see what sort of common diseases are around, and so that I can report back when we start our medical outreach. As we all know, poverty and health are related to each other. When I was there, now people compliment of how well I've done and say that it's great, you've been there. But when I was there, even until today, I still feel very clueless. And actually, I was quite panicked when I see all these kids surrounding me. I was told that there are a few kids who has a big belly, and they say, "Oh, would you go and see this kid so that we know whether we need to give them any medication?" I was like, "Yeah, no problem. I'll go. I'll grab my bag." And then when I enter this village, a group of kids crowd around me, as they do, and then I was a bit shocked because they say that I needed to see 2 or 3 kids with swollen bellies, but all those kids crowding around me, everyone has a big belly. And I was like, I thought you said there was only 2 or 3. I'm like, well, yeah. And then, so who's the 2 and 3? It's like, oh, apparently they're not at home. It's like, oh, okay. Because they don't have any phones. We can't tell them we're coming right now, so please be ready. So when I saw this kid right in front of me and looking at this skin there, he has terrible skin conditions, but I wasn't too sure what this is. And as I said, when I was in the UK, I see blisters, I see small cuts in the hands, some dermatitis, but never skin infection as severe as this. So I don't know where to start. And when I listened to a few lungs, and there were a lot of crepitations, which could be a sign of infection, but I still don't know whether I should treat them. And I didn't have any antibiotics with me. So when I see all these kids, skinny, tummy swollen, and it can represent parasite infection, or it can be due to malnourished. But even if I knew the answer, I wasn't very sure if I should treat them. Why is that? So we know poverty and illnesses are interrelated. I know that the reason that they get either parasite infections or malnourished, that the root of the problem is because of their poor hygiene. That's their skin in normal time. This is the water that they consume. Of course, not all of them takes dirty water like that, but even with water that looks clear, I had diarrhea after washing my hands with tap water that looks clear, and then I had lunch after that, and since then my stomach wasn't working very well. So all this is what causing them to be ill, and of course illness can cause them to be poor as well. So I wasn't sure whether treating them is what is the right thing to do, and therefore I hesitated. Then I met this little baby, a 9-month-old baby, who I thought, well, you look skinny, and you look like you're not getting enough nutrients. You're perhaps probably underdeveloped, and you probably have some developmental delay. But then when we put this baby down, and a 9-month-old baby should be able to crawl and sit stable. And this baby did that. He was able to crawl forward as I tried to lure him over. And then I thought, well, if a 9-month-old baby is striving to survive, we are the fortunate people who came with lots of things. We might not know whether that's going to help them in future, but at least we're here. We're able to reach out. We're able to touch them. We're able to give them something. And maybe if I've distributed 100 people with anti-parasite medication and only one of them will get will get treated and will not get reinfected, I think that one person still deserves to be treated, even though that is a small percentage of people. And the same thing, actually, the doctors from Hualien and all the superintendents from Hualien, when they did the medical outreach and went back and came back to a boat and report to master, they say the same thing, that whether it is worth to do a medical outreach like that, because all they do is that 4 days and they've only seen them once and they give them medication once. They don't know whether there's any follow-up later on. Is it still worth doing it? Then masters say the same thing. Masters say that there are so many people in this world who are suffering, and it's not everyone that we can reach out to. But whoever we're able to reach, the souls that we're able to touch, we should grab this opportunity and do as much as we can and not think about the consequences. And that's the motto for me as well. A lot of things, if you think the right thing to do, then just do it. So if in future, if I encounter the same thing again, I know that there's no dilemma. It's definitely to treat. And that's not only in medical things, it's also when, in future, if we do anything, when we do charity, we might always think about the consequences. Oh, I'm only giving this rice for today, but tomorrow he's going to starve again. Should I do this? I think in any time, if we ever have this doubt, we should know that if we think too much for them, they would never be able to do anything for now. So just do it, and do it right now, and treat them, give them anything that you're able to. So that's one of the things I've learned. Time is short, but I'm going to quickly run through. When Master talked about changing the fate of Africa, it's such a big wow, and I doubted her. I was like, really? Changing the fate of Africa? That's huge. You sure you can do that? After being in Mozambique, and I realized I think it's not a mission impossible, mainly because Master is leading us with wisdom and also using the right belief, which is the Dharma lineage that's teaching us. So when I was there, I realized that actually doing charity itself is not enough. We need wisdom along with it. Only wisdom combining with charity will leave an everlasting effect. So rather than teaching them giving them food, we also give them the construction tools so that they're able to get on with their life, be independent right away. So in August time, I was amazed to see all these photos on social medias that Sister Anita found these crops that they started growing, and it's huge, and they look healthy. And I was glad that that's what we do, because like I say, I wouldn't remember the scenery that I've been to many years ago, but I'm pretty sure I will remember this photo many years later, that someday in 2019 we have distributed seeds to these people in Mozambique, and they have managed to survive. Other than that, something that I feel embarrassed of myself as a commissioner is when I meet all this amazing Mozambique shiny Heidenju or black pearl. The photo on the left is two commissioners in Mozambique, and I was amazed to see how they stood. We were not doing anything there. We were just surveying around the school, and these two commissioners just stood there with their palms down and standing straight. Nobody was looking at them. They were not in any event, and I was very touched by how they actually put the things that they learn into action. Because sometimes when I know that nobody looks at me, I probably will cross my leg, and I don't stand as straight as them. Sometimes I thought, never mind, nobody can see me. I can just put up a ponytail. I do things not because I've put it in heart and do it truthfully. I feel like, I'm in the boat now. I need to look after my image. If I'm in Malaysia, then it's like, nobody sees me. So I think that's something that we should learn from our Mozambique volunteers, because they do it because they've learned it, and they understand it, and they carry it out. And the same thing on this right side, Sister Anna Maria. She said that she used to think that her life it's in a lot of suffering. She's not wealthy. She's just an ordinary Mozambican. She said that she used to pray to God and to relieve her suffering, so that and one day she can stop all this. But then she heard master teaching from Sister Denise and realized and understand about karma. And then she changed her thoughts and belief and realized that, oh, this is probably what she had done in the past that's affecting her current. But when she knows that, she didn't just stop right there and blame her past, but she realized that actually, if my past could affect my current, that means that I can do things right now to impact my future. So then she started to work on helping other people, and through helping others, she realized that actually she's not the worst person, and she wanted to spread this. So helping people, I realized that we can't just give them things. We need to help them to be independent, and not only that, we need to install good software in their mind, so that they can carry this out and realize that nobody can help you except yourself. And when you help yourself, the universe will gather a lot of energy and people and come and fulfill this thought. So then they're able to share about our bamboo story, and you can see people are sitting so organized, and that's the local volunteers who arranged that. And that you can understand how diligent they are, and how they actually walk the Dharma lineage in their life. And we're very grateful for our local volunteers. Without them, all those physical works cannot be carried out. Now, other than the Black Pearl, Heipusa, one group of people also touches my heart, as this group of young people came from different parts of the world. This is when we have meetings, and the day and night meetings. It's very tiring, but that time there made me feel that I fulfilled my destiny, and I'm useful. But what amazed me is how they live when they're in Mozambique. I was very lucky because I came a month later, so I didn't get the privilege to stay here because it's fully occupied. So I'm very privileged that I get to stay in a hotel. But that's where our Qingxiaoshi and our Tongren, our staff, stayed and lived for 56 days in Mozambique. And on the upper left corner is our Mozambique staff, Brother Bojia. And so this is how they live in order to minimize the administrative cost, so that all the donations that we collected are going through directly to the victims. And on top of that, we have to cook for ourselves, and we have to do everything on our own. We have to report. Everyone has multiple function. And the left lower corner is a picture that I've took myself, because every day we have different teams going out in the morning, and you only come back at nighttime. And when you come back, while waiting for them to come back, whoever's home first, then we'll start to cook meals. And that one day I sat there looking in front of me. I was eating by myself, of course. Then I felt, wow, what is all these people doing? They're in their 30s or early 40s. It's about 8 o'clock and they're still here. They're still not home. When I was in UK, we don't do this. We have work-life balance. I'll be home by now and probably tuck in. But I was really touched by what they're doing. And then when we come back, everyone was very happy. It's like, oh, you know what? I've managed to find many translations. I managed to do this. I managed to find that. Oh, that guy was not trustworthy. So we share our thoughts, and despite being tired, every day was very, very meaningful. So when I went back to Scotland, I went to the beach because I had diarrhea and I was at home for a few days. So I thought I need to get out. And I was lying on this beach looking in the sky and then scrolling through my photos. And then I thought, wow, they look the same. Yeah, Scotland and Mozambique look the same. But the people who live underneath it, the same blue sky that we all share, they're so different. Here in Scotland, we have 60% of obesity, 60%, and we're in Mozambique. People are skinny, people have no food. They probably only manage to have 1 meal a day. So I felt different myself as well. I was kind of surreal, like, well, I went to Mozambique and I came back and lying on this beach and everything seems same but different. And I know that I felt different and I was different from there onward. So I know what I would like to do in the prime of my life. I'm 31 this year, and I'm glad that in the beginning of my 30th, I managed to do this. And I think I know what I would like to do next. And in fact, we just got a news yesterday that we are actually going to Mozambique again next Tuesday for a month. I think I've made the right choice leaving the UK. When people ask me whether I've regretted, I truly did not. I didn't feel like I actually left the UK. I just feel so surreal that have I actually lived there? Because nothing seems to make me miss it there. And I'm enjoying my time right there, right here. And hopefully the next time when I return, I'll have more stories to share. Right. Thank you very much for listening.
All right, thank you, Karmen, for the sharing. I think it's awesome. It was really great, and you know, actually, Sister Karmen has came back to the abode for really 1 month, and she let go everything in UK. From what I heard, is after you let go the work permit for that, actually you couldn't go back to UK, right? So she really made that great vow, and after that, she let go everything to come back here. Hoping to serve her skill for Africa. But I think for the past 1 month, it has been quite up and down for her because, well, she made a vow to go, but she asked Master 3 times actually, can I go, can I go, can I go? That Master has been advising her to stay, the heart to come down and to come back home first. And to be Master, to learn what it is to be in the headquarters and what it is, the spirits and the direction to be over here. So I think for the past 1 month, although sometimes I think, I know sometimes she sits there and feeling like nothing much to do. Sometimes, actually every time, for me too, when I come back to the abode for the first 3 months, it also feels a little bit this way, that is there anything I can do? Or because the affinity need to build up, and that when you make that vow, you need to. It takes time for the whole universe to come, actually. But that period of time is really the time to test the perseverance and whether it's the true vow and whether that vow is truly selfless and for others. And I think she really persevered through that 1 month. So yesterday, like yesterday, we reported to Master that we're going to Mozambique again. And is it okay that we bring Sister Karmen along? And Master was like, are you sure you can? Are you okay? And she's like, yes. And so, yes. And so we are going to have a team of 4 going to Mozambique again to really begin the reconstruction work, schools, great love villages that we are going to build. And again, a big thank you to everyone around the world for making all this possible. The love, we have already over 60 other countries that have poured in this love into this whole project to transform Africa. And so every part of our work over there has all of your love there too. And in fact, today we also have a special guest today with us. Can I call Brother Pascal? Yeah. Sure, can I? Okay, Brother Pascal is in fact an ambassador from the Embassy of Belgium to Malaysia. And he was back here in the abode. And from what I know is he's
the devil in the details, right? Can you hear me? Yeah. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everybody who is on the other side of the screen. So I am Pascal, maybe brother, yeah, Brother Pascal. Important to mention that I'm here on my on my own responsibility, and I'm not representing the country that I am paid for representing, meaning Belgium. So personal capacity that I am here. So what can I say? It's the fourth time that I'm coming back here. The first time, in fact, on my own. 3 previous time during the past 12 months, I was invited, so I follow, and I wanted to come back on my own and to spend a few time, participate to the prayer session, to the lecture session, to the assembly, and so on, and to participate to the life, right? And maybe 3 questions pop up to my mind, and I will try to share them with you. First of all, I've been thinking, what if somebody is asking me why you are back? Why are you here? Why does it matter for you to be back to the abode? And funnily enough, yesterday during a coffee break, somebody asked me, why are you here? So I had been given thoughts about this. And I thought my answer was and is because I have to be here. And because it's my place. So of course it's a bit funny, it might even seem arrogant, but this is how it feels. And of course, words are very limited, and it does describe a reality that is bigger than the world, of course. I have to be here, so I am here. And also, I like to be here, so why not to be here, right? It's a good reason enough. On the other hand, also, it makes me think it's not that much about me as such. It's okay. This is an envelope, right? I have a suit, and you can put the label Brother Pascal or whatever. But to me, it's not that much the individual. This is. I feel it also like I must be here also to witness. I'm coming from Europe, obviously. I'm not from a Buddhist tradition. I didn't grow in a Buddhist environment. But I feel it's important to see with my own eyes and to share when I come, to share with whom, with anybody who is interested to listen, or anybody who wants to take the time to listen. And as such, I have really the feeling, the real feeling is not about me. I'm just a kind of a medium, a vector. There is an energy going through. This is the teachings. These are the teachings, the Dharma teaching, and so on. This is embodied by Master. The Master is also a vehicle. It's maybe a beautiful vehicle. It is an enlightened vehicle, but this is a vehicle. This is going through her, and through her is going through us. So I'm just a kind of a Wi-Fi pole receiving signal and just letting the signal go. So this was the first question. Second question, it was very interesting also. I bumped into somebody in the abode, and she asked me, do you speak Chinese? Obviously, I said, obviously I could have, but I said no. So she bluntly told me, so you don't understand anything. I said, you are right, I don't understand nothing unless somebody is translating to me. But that, of course, I was a bit, gently, I was a bit, what's the point? I don't understand Chinese, so what is your problem? Which is not nice from me, but it popped up. So I say, you know, maybe nothing, not understanding nothing. Anything maybe is the best way to understand, because it leaves room for emptiness. So it is understanding itself, right? There was this lecture yesterday about the great principles, and Master said the great principles, they are everywhere. So, I mean, even if I don't speak Chinese, it's there anyway. This is also the idea of being like a medium, a vector. And so you have the choice to let the door open or not. And it's not so much, of course it helps, because all the teachings here are in Chinese and so on, but this is also an energy. This is also a vibration. and you can, at least this is how I see it, you can understand nothing, but it understands you. So it's already a good start, right? Second, a third point, was the third question. Yeah, it was this morning, very interesting question. Somebody asked me, are you a Buddhist? Really, in me, the answer is no. Is no, again, if I'm born in a Buddhist tradition, in a Buddhist family, I did not have a kind of academic or scholar Buddhist training. So if this is to be Buddhist, I'm not. On the other hand, Buddha being everywhere and us being in Buddha, so maybe I'm kind of Buddhist, right? Because everything is in everything, and it's not about, again, it's not about being Buddhist. It's already about being yourself. And if it's Buddhist or it's Sufist or if Christian, this is a matter of perception, but also a matter of attitude. So this leads me to say that definitely my stay here makes me more aware that another world is possible. It has been very well described by our sister and her experience in Mozambique. And this is all what I remember or strike me yesterday, the concluding remark of the master after a all afternoon assembly related to the presentation of project in Sri Lanka, in Singapore and so on. The message, as she says, is another world is possible. It's possible now, and we should move our ass forward to make it happen. So how it happens, this is by action. Thinking is nice, is nice, philosophing is very nice, but I think there are enough philosophers in the world, enough philosophy, and not action enough. This said, people or human beings like Master are very important because, of course, they are not only carrying the word and the teachings, but they are demonstrating how you can put it in action. And I want to point out the problem. Of course, the problem, we can believe this is karma and so on, and causes, causes and conditions, of course. But I mean, countries, I don't want to stigmatize a country, but countries like Mozambique and so on, this is also because the people running those kind of countries, the countries are not doing what they should do. This is as simple as that. If everything was okay, there is no need for Tzu Chi, there is no need for United Nations. If there is a need because the people are not doing what they are supposed to do, maybe they are thinking about doing something, but thinking is not enough. So another world is possible, of course, and another world of what? Of compassion, of altruism, of love, and but the point is just do it. So we wake up today and we do it. But I also notice it's important to share. Word is important, not to blah, 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 but because, of course, it generates an energy, it generates a reflection, and because also probably this is also the creative power of the mind, creative power of the thought. And of course, it has been reminded during the lecture of Master this morning. Buddha knew very well that the human sentient is always complicated, right? It's like on Facebook, yeah? It's always ups and downs, but probably maybe it is how it is, and the point is to be conscious of that. It's not bad to be up and down. It's called Pascal, being Pascal or being Lisa. This is how it is. The point is to stay, of course, at the same level. And this is was also said in the lecture this morning. Every day is another day, but the point is, so it's another start. This is true, but the ideal is not to start again at the level 0, right? But on the other hand, also, this is to accept that we might start not necessarily at the level 10, but maybe 4.5, because today is not a good day. Why? Because we are human beings. And this is also important to recognize that we are human beings. And there is so many other things to say. and so little time, but let's do it. Thank you very much.
Oh, I want to add something.
Sure.
People don't know that Buddha Pascal is very fond of many rituals. And the reason that I personally think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it continued to propel him to attend the morning ritual, even all the way back in Malaysia, is because he understands the meaning of the morning rituals, the value of attending this morning ritual. So it's not only a formality. Once it's not a formality, every prostration, every bow means something. Means something not only for the sake of its meaning, but the fact is how integrated with him and his consciousness as well as a whole, his speech, his mind, his body. And so therefore, this kind of energy continues to be generative and propels him forward. And because of that, he actually has very profound understanding and a very humble. And so continuously talking to him is a very good thing. So, and you will get to learn a lot. And so yesterday we were very fortunate to be with the Singapore delegations as well as the Tzu Chi senior Tzu Chi members. And one of them invited him to go to Singapore to talk to the senior Tzu Chi group about the role of diplomacy, or whatever the topic he's going to give. I think it will be very, very intriguing and very fascinating for our younger generations of Tzu Chi who are thinking and seeking the professional field, and maybe with some sort of stereotypical assumptions about what professional is supposed to be like. And here is a fine model to show them that how we can integrate humility with professionalism, and in a way that will help them to continue to cultivate along this lineage of the Jesus lineage and the Jesus Buddhism. So I think it is just a privilege for us to all to come to know Brother Pascal. Yesterday, Brother George, he was like sitting right next to me, and where is your guest? I said, come on, what do you mean guest? It's brother. He said, oh, really, brother? You mean? I said, yeah, tomorrow. And then so therefore, this is kind of like a tacit understanding between every one of us who are family, right? So I was very touched by him when he said to me yesterday, this is supposedly a new environment, new community for some reason, but then interestingly, he finds a sense of belonging, right? And not only feel a sense of belonging, that he also feels that being recognized. It's like, he doesn't have to go out of his way. Just like sometimes, Shifu out of Shifu say, why, where's the country? I'm like, he asked me, you should ask the person, right? But this time, same thing. He followed his innate, his heart, his connecting, affinity with the Dharma and with Master and with this Jesus Buddhism, Jesus Dharma lineage, and then naturally leads him here without we have to put, I just joking with you. I don't think I ever put a knife against your throat, He's like, not yet. So anyhow, I'm just very happy to be with him and to meet him, and then now that everyone will have more chance to get to know our Brother Pascal. Starting at 9 o'clock, I just got a message from him, so he'll be here at 9. So today he's looking pretty, just a way to show respect. No attachment to the physical form. Of course, we talk about the wondrous existence of the true emptiness for a long time already. Anyway, just much supplementary is long. Just a very humble being. I should show you also the wonderful work he has done at he spent hours. And he chose 2 words, 散步.
Wow.
Guys, are they still there?
Yeah. Using the calligraphy, right?
Yeah, and then, this is a signature. And then you pay attention to this because Dharma Master Tzu and then the painting teacher, they were all looking forward to this, Western signature, and then he like, and then they're like, hey, oh, done. That's it, so that's his signature. This is the painting, and that's the 2 words. These 2 words he chose himself, and without knowing those are 2 words. And then after he found out that's the meaning, because those 2 words speak to him. So he said, I'm gonna do those 2. And what's that mean? Right there. How did you get that? Oh, yeah, you did it. Okay. See? And that's one of his teachers right there, a brother. And there's another one because there are some other photos like it's falling out there. He had fascinating experience right there. Making this room, fascinating experience, just being there at the Pottery Center to understand better about the 6 pyramids. So.
It makes me think what you were saying. In fact, you were questioning yourself, what kind of diagnostic. At the point is just to do it. It was, I learned a lot with it because I have absolutely no talents to. Since I was a kid, I cannot draw, I cannot do things, and, like having 2 left hands. So I was quite stressed with myself. God, I have to do that. But afterwards, doing it, and it took quite a while, and focusing and so on, I was able to make it and to find pleasure, because also it's a learning process, but I was not on my own. There was a master, there was correcting me, and finally it gave a beautiful result. This is not my own result, but this is a collective work. So just do it, action, compassion and action, and don't ask yourself too much questions because time is precious and you can keep and stay and say, am I able to do it? Just do it and you will see if you are able or not.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very glad that we have Brother Pascal together with us. It's amazing.
You can learn a lot. There are a lot of things in the video that you don't have to share, but feel free to get a copy. We have his, approval to share.
On a personal basis.
Yeah, personal, every person.
Thank you. For the last bit of a minute, could you have Huang Shifu?
Okay, good morning and auspicious greeting to everyone. And actually, this is a very special occasion day, and especially we have a special brothers who came far away from abroad, and just like we are having a different looks and different color, skin color and everything, religions, but in Tzu Chi world, actually, as Master say, everyone having the same intrinsic Buddha nature, and we are no different for the races or ethnic that we have. So there's no different, as we are core human being, as well as we have a compassion heart. And I think the best conclusion for Brother Pascal and giving us sharing that time is very precious. So the more important is to practice and live it up, not to just spend time for the question and asking why and just do it. I think this is the best, because actually is the best way to show the right path of the material principles. And also give a feedback for our sister Karmen, who sharing the Mozambique journey for the outreach and medical outreach. And I think, as the master say, she have a great vow to change the fate of Africa. But I think, as the Sutra of the Infinite Meaning say, we start from one seed and can multiply to more. And I think for masters to come up, the first arise her thought that want to change the fate of Africa. And I think this is not the mission can make it possible. As well as we all, the impossible mission we turn to I am possible for everyone to believe that what master say. So everyone follow the same vow as master. I think one day and very soon, we will change the fate of Africa very soon, quickly. And as for photo that show for the Sister Karmen regarding the Scotland and Mozambique, and the picture is totally, virtually the same. I think, as the master say, the universe actually is embryons for the all same principles, and just our human being have a differentiate mind. We just differentiate it, but actually the all universe are the same. So there's no much difference whether you are from a poverty country or from the wealth country. They are the same, just the people's mind. Because as well as we believe that we all, everyone have a heart of compassion, I think they are the same. If you have a vision with compassionate eyes, a vision, I think they are the same, not much different. And the last, for our brother Pascal, who shared about, actually, I think for Africa, says we always have a think of that this is a poverty, but I think we can make it possible to change it, because I think if let's see that Tzu Chi, if we start from the intellectual group, people who joined Tzu Chi for the beginning, I think we wouldn't have this Tzu Chi world in this era now, because everyone have their own concept. But you see the African people, they are having a pure mind, and they are just like a plain piece of paper, and what you give them the right image and the message, I think they will just absorb like a sponge, and they were easily to live and to insert it, to immerse in his heart. So I think if we start from the intellectual group who are having a knowledge, or like a professional, or what, maybe they have their own opinions, it's hard for Tzu Chi to go forward to carry out the mission. So let us start with our pure practitioner heart, and to just follow what the right Dharma teaching from Master. So I think this is the sharing and the feedback for me. And then I think it's time for end the sharing today, and I'll pass it the time to the KL Center for Sister Shati. Thanks. Okay.